Hi, everybody. It's Maker Monday. I'm Chris Bakke with Nasco Education, and it's a marvelous day. Technology has been giving us a little bit of a hard time. And for those of you watching, I apologize because not everybody is used to the program that we use. It's called GoToWebinar. And so we always do some tech tests ahead of time. And when they work, we feel pretty good about it. When they don't, we try to work all the bugs out. And then sometimes the day of Maker Monday comes and we have a little bit of a struggle. So this morning we were a little bit struggling, so bear with us because we have some backups in case. But my guest today is Leah Keller from Adams Friendship in Wisconsin. She's an elementary school teacher. And what I love is that some of you have been asking for some other mediums other than painting and drawing. And so today we do have fiber and specifically crochet, and it's beginning crochet. And I'm pretty excited about it because quite honestly, I was able to do it. This is a little embellishment by Susie Belzer that I did not do. This is a Frida that Leah actually did that I did not do, but I did do the project. You can see that one's a little bit too long. So Leah, how's it going? Do we got you on screen?
I think so.
All right, so you just need to unmute. You got your mic unmuted, perfect. And now we just need to get your camera on. It's not easy sometimes doing this, and I know that sometimes it's a little frustrating when you are watching at home, but I think the beauty of art educators is we're all in this together and everybody understands. So there she is, the beautiful Leah Keller, and Leah is also president-elect for the Wisconsin Art Education Association. And so Leah, unmute. And take a deep breath because you're here and we're excited that you are here. So thank you so much for being willing to share it. And I love your story in terms of how you came to be a crocheter. So I'm just going to turn it over to you. And when you're ready to flip to demonstration mode, you can make that happen. But the stage belongs to you, Leah. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay. You know, we did. We had that beautiful practice session. We got all the bugs worked out. And then today it just all rolled downhill. So
it works out though. And I told you it will. And I'm excited for today because I think this is a really neat alternative. Plus, with the potential of doing some distance learning at home, this is another opportunity that somebody can, you know, a skein of yarn doesn't cost very much.
No.
So,
no. And I've kicked my family out, and they are, my husband was like, do you want me to stand here for moral support? I said, no, I want you to get out now and I want you to go far away because I need to do this by myself. So
I know there's some people that are really good moral support, but sometimes husbands can make us nervous too. So absolutely.
Yeah, so he's gone. So my story about crocheting is just that my mom used to do it when I was little, and so I begged her to teach me how, and I could do you know, the very basic stitches, and I could make some really, really ugly scarves, and that was about it. And so I never really thought much about it until I had kids. And I have 3 daughters. They were born 3 years in a row. And so when they were little, they had all the little matchy outfits and cutesy stuff. And I found this pattern on Etsy that I just loved. It was this little dress that the top half was crocheted and then you just sewed a fabric skirt on the bottom. And I wanted those for the girls so bad because they were so cute. And I could not find anybody who could crochet them for me. And so after a year of unsuccessfully searching for somebody to make them for me, I figured, okay, I have to do it myself. So I got myself Crochet for Dummies and watched YouTube videos, and that was the first thing that I crocheted as as an adult. So that's kind of where it started. I've tried to teach this to students. So you were talking about distance learning and maybe having this be another opportunity for kids. Fourth graders were who I tried it with.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for saying that, because that's always a question on age range. Yes.
Yeah. I absolutely would not go lower than that. And you got to have fourth graders that I think kind of have that fine motor dexterity and have the perseverance to stick with it, because it wasn't easy. It was not easy. And fourth grade is the highest level I teach, so that's who I had to work with. So I would definitely say middle school, high school if you're doing this with students, and then if you're doing it for yourself, yay you can do whatever you want.
And in a distance learning situation, I'm guessing that there might be some more choice-based opportunity. And so if you have a grandma or a mom or a dad or somebody that can crochet, that might be an opportunity for, you know, that extra support too. But you know what, it's always one of those things where if there's an interest, no doubt in my mind that an art teacher can help you through it, even in a distance situation. So sorry to interrupt. I get excited.
No, not at all.
Did you enjoy that I have a little crocheted vest on for you?
I wore this is I made this cardigan. And I thought, oh, it matches my shirt. I'll wear it today.
I'm so proud of you. I did not make this. I wish I could make vests. And it's probably why God doesn't allow that, because I would be in a full-on crocheted outfit right now, and that might not be that attractive.
Like those images of men in crocheted shorts.
Yeah, kind of cute. All right, keep going.
I've offered to make those for my husband, and he says no. He's okay. He's good with denim. So it's really an opportunity too, if they have somebody in their family, to really make a really good connection that maybe they don't already have with them. And it's just a really good way to bond if it's a family member. My problem is my children who want to learn to crochet are left-handed and I'm right-handed. So that kind of throws a wrench into things too. So if you are left-handed, I'm sure that there are tutorials from left-handed people. Some people say that you should sit across from a right-handed crocheter, and then you can mirror what they're doing. Otherwise, I was even thinking last night about how to teach the kids. Like I'd have to teach myself left-handed. So that's probably the biggest.
You could do
one
it,
of the biggest. So, do you want to go right into it, or
flip it up? Let's
what would you like to do? All right, now here's my issue again. Do I remember? Oh, there we go.
So while you are flipping that, I will just chit chat with everybody. Today you will have a full-on PowerPoint. Leah and some colleagues were going to do this at NAEA in just past March, which clearly got canceled. So she has taken that and revised it for today and added some fun humor in it, but all of the information, some really great pictures. So that handout is available to everybody. And it looks like you are all set up.
Oh, I'm fighting with my holder. Okay, so first of all, when you are thinking about crocheting, you need to figure out your yarn weight, because there's different thicknesses of yarn, of course. And so for the project today, we are using what's called bulky. So this is that really thick, chunky, fat yarn. I think this is really nice to have somebody learn with, because it is bigger. It's just easier to use. So all yarns have a weight. And so when you look on the label, this one, it goes by number. So this one is a 6. And then it will also give you the hook size, a recommended hook size, but that doesn't mean that that's the one you absolutely have to use. It also will give you yardage. So a lot of times when you will look at projects on, if you can search for patterns on Etsy, or there's a crochet and knitting website that has patterns called Ravelry. Ravelry.com, and a lot of the patterns there are free, but they'll give you an estimated yardage of how much you need, and then that way you can buy, if you're going to need more than one skein of yarn at a time, you can buy that.
Leah, I love this because I did not know that. And yeah, I'm looking at the yarn right here on this table, and you're 100. This is so cool. I did not know that about the label. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
And then this is just a standard yarn, I think probably the most common. This weight is, I don't have the label on this one anymore, but this is a 4. And so a lot of projects are done with this. The other thing to look at is that in focus? There will be a lot number. See that lot 40183?
Yes.
Okay, so there will be a lot number on your label. And so sometimes things, if they're dyed in different lots, the color may be off a little bit. Some projects that's not going to matter, but if it's a project where it really needs to be spot on the exact same color, then you're going to want to make sure that they have the same lot number.
So do you find that almost all brands of yarn have these same things on their label?
Yeah, they should.
Very cool. For the most part, we carry the Lion brand, which I know that when we did this at Wisconsin Art Ed, we used the Hometown, which was called super bulky. So I'm guessing that one was like a 6.
Yep.
I've done it with a 4, and it is less appealing, but it still works.
Yeah, the bulky is really nice to start with, just because you're not, it's just easier. You're working bigger, and then as you gain your dexterity and your skill, you can always work down to the smaller ones. And then there's this teeny tiny stuff. This is actually a 0.
Oh my goodness.
This is just considered cotton thread. So I bought some of these to make little crocheted headbands.
Love that. Mel, who has joined us, actually posted in the question section, and Leah, don't worry about that because I'll send it out to all, a link for left-handers.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so then we've got, so we talked a little bit about yarn, then we've got hooks. And I had a third kind, as I'm dropping stuff all over the place over here. I had a third one, but now I can't find it. So this white one is a plastic hook, and these two guys are aluminum. My favorite though is actually, it's a plastic hook, and it's almost got like a rubber kind of ergonomic grip right here. And I just like how that one feels.
Point to actually show a picture of that.
Oh, perfect. And, excuse me. And then on your hooks, zoom in. Tell me if that's in focus. Probably not. There we go.
You can't see it real good.
So there's numbers and letters on there, and what this says is an I/G, which is the size, and then there's a dash, and it says 5.5 millimeters. Okay, so the hooks will either come in millimeter size or letter size, and the smaller the yarn, the smaller the detail in your project, the smaller of a hook you're going to use, and then the bigger the yarn, then the bigger the hook. So there's also a hook size. So you can, I found that you can kind of vary that a little bit. Even if there's a recommended hook size, you can kind of go up or down a little bit depending. Then you just have to kind of watch and make sure that it's turning out the right size. Because if you use a smaller hook than what they ask for, then you're going to end up, it's going to end up slightly smaller than what the finished dimensions are telling you that it's going to be. So that's something to consider too. All right.
Leah, have you ever used plastic bags and they call it plarn?
No, but I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, Natalie, thanks for that cool tip. Shoot me an email because I'd love to hear more on that. kbaki@nascoeducation.com.
Yeah, I think that you just cut it in a way where it ends up being kind of a zigzag in the whole bag, so that you end up with one long piece of plastic yarn for the whole bag. So you don't have all these little short pieces to crochet with. But
Yes.
yeah, I've seen that. So the first basic thing that you do when you're crocheting is called a chain stitch. And so we're going to start off with the biggest, not the biggest hook there is, but the biggest one I have here today. This is a size K, and we're going to use this bulky yarn. Okay. And the first thing we actually have to do is get the yarn on the hook. So we are starting off with just a basic slip knot. Okay. So it's just a loop, and then I'm just going to tuck that underneath and pull. Okay, so the cool thing about a slip knot then is if I hold this knot and I pull the part of the yarn that's still attached to the skein, it makes that loop bigger or smaller. So if I accidentally made it too tight, I could pull and loosen it. If it's too big, this one's pretty big, I'm just gonna tighten it. So that's the first thing. Okay, I think I have my yarn on the wrong side here. All right, then there's holding the yarn, and I I really don't know if this is something mom taught me to do or if there's a certain way that you have to hold it, but I usually have it wrapped around my pinky, and then I have it going over my index finger as I'm working. And then the yarn just kind of slides through your finger as you go. I've also seen it where you just kind of hook your pinky over it like this and then run it. And then it's kind of, see how it's just kind of sliding through? Okay, but
Leah, I'm going to interrupt and I apologize, but this is something I seem to see in crocheters that can almost be customed to, like I see people doing it differently all the time. So it's almost like a find your groove kind of thing.
I think so, kind of like handwriting.
Gotcha.
Whatever
Okay.
works for you for it to go through. Okay, so we have the needle through, or the hook through that first loop that we made. And so a common direction in crochet is yarn over. Okay, and it is abbreviated with a Y and an O, and it just literally means bring the yarn over the hook. Okay, so after you do that, then you're going to pull that through the first loop. That is one chain. Okay, so you yarn over again and pull it through. So now you've got
each
one,
little loop
two
is
chains.
called a chain.
Yep. And so that is the basis for everything. Almost everything starts with doing the yarn over. Did my camera just flip sideways?
I don't know, but it still looks good.
Okay, it flipped sideways on my screen, so now I'm looking at things a little bit differently. So it almost starts to look like a braid, actually. And so you yarn over and pull through. So sometimes I find myself rotating the hook to pull it through, and it just becomes habit to do that. And then you want to try and have all these little guys pretty even. So
Yours looks so super stellar, and I giggle. Mine always has a little bit of a looseness to it.
I think it
Just
all comes with practice. I really do. So as you yarn over, and you know, once you really get going, then of course I'm not doing it fast right now because I'm on camera and I'm nervous and my yarn is getting.
You're so cute because I know you're nervous, but you're actually going a little bit faster than people would like. So repeat a little bit and
Really?
go
Okay.
a little slower.
Okay. So with
It's
each,
because it's so easy for you.
okay. So I've got the yarn over the hook and I pull it through the loop. Yarn over the hook, pull it through the loop. So each time you're making a new loop, yarn over, pull through.
Very good. Yeah, it looks so nice. I'll show you mine when we come back to you, but just wait for it. Have you, I know we're going to talk about an alternative if you don't have a crochet hook, but
Yeah.
is there, before we talk about that particular alternative, have you ever, I've heard some people use a toothbrush. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
All right, I haven't, I've heard of it, but I just didn't know how it worked. And so we'll wait for your alternative. When you did
Maybe that's a,
when
I
you
was
did
just going to
Sense
say,
Supply
maybe
Home with
that's a,
fourth graders, it was your art club, right? It was a
right,
small group.
right. I had a little art club and I decided it was during one of my prep times, and I decided if we're going to do this during a time when I could have been planning, then we're doing stuff that I want to do. So we did all fibers that year. We did needle felting and we did crocheting and we did the loom knitting, and some of them were able to make hats. Some of them, I think we could have spun our own yarn faster in the time it took them to make a hat, but you know, that's okay. They may think back on it and be like, wait a minute, I did that once, I could do it again, which is kind of what I did. So, all right, so for the necklace or for the scarf pattern, it's kind of a scarf that almost looks like a necklace. My camera is super duper close. I'm gonna try and make it a little bit higher. Sorry about that, folks.
No worries.
Okay, so this is the first project that I like to do because all this is a series of chains, and then you wear this like a scarf.
I'll put mine on when we start talking face to face again. But yeah, the fact that you have crocheted flowers there with the buttons makes it look way fancier than it is, because it really is just a series of chains.
Yeah, that's all.
And you feel so successful when you're done.
Yeah, and so when we finished, okay, I'm gonna bring this guy back here. I'm gonna make this a little longer. One other hint I will tell you is I feel like, especially if you're just starting out, you wanna stick with lighter colors of yarn. Darker colors of yarn, it's really hard to see the details of the loops. So it gets really hard to figure out where you're crocheting. I think there are even lighted crochet hooks.
So do that again really quick. So and talk through a little bit on some helpful hints on to keep the stitches the same size, like how loose. That was a great question, particularly because it's one that I struggle with.
It is. I think that tension is definitely something that is learned, and you tend to, I feel like at the beginning people tend to crochet really tight, and if you're fighting like that, to get the yarn through the loop, then you need to make it a little bit looser. So remember, this just slides. This is just one loop through another. So if it feels like when you're yarning over and pulling through, if it feels like you have to fight it, then you want to kind of pull your hook up a little bit and make that loop a little bit bigger. So again, tension just comes with practice.
Nice.
Okay, so the project is just, like we said, a series of these chains. Now, obviously, this one is not going around anybody's neck, but when you get back to the beginning, and I think in the handout I have, the pattern that I had for it said like 150 stitches. It's one of those where if you wanted to sit and count them out, you certainly could. You do not have to. 150 stitches may end up looking, or chains, excuse me, 150 chains may end up looking too long on you, too short on you. And, you know, there's no crochet police. They're not going to come and say, wait a minute, like, is that 150 chains there?
Clearly, I had one that was way too long, but honestly, I could have eliminated it. I just ended up leaving it in there because once it's around your neck, you can fix it up. So I'll show you my little mistake, but you keep going.
Okay, so let's say that this one has gone as long as I want it to go. Okay, what I'm going to do to attach the ends together. Now I could, if I wanted to, I could just tie this off and then, you know, tie a knot into the two tails and have a bunch of knots. But what we're going to do is just put that hook through the first chain. I've got to get my little tail out of the way. We're going to yarn over. We're going to pull it through the first chain and the last chain. Okay, so we just attached those together. Do you want to see that again?
Yes, it's always good to do it twice. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so kind of make sure that, that's the other thing, I kind of make sure that everything is going the same way, because as you crochet, things kind of twist and turn a little bit. So I make sure that
you mentioned that because somebody did share that they're having a little difficulty with their chain twisting and not staying flat and even. What causes that, and any tips on preventing that?
I'm not sure.
Do you think it's too tight? Do you think it's the way, or do you?
Well, I can see a little twist here. I mean, it probably doesn't look like it to you, but there's like a little twist there. I mean, as I go, I think sometimes I kind of like flatten it with my fingers as I go to kind of, the other thing I do, there's so many things I do that I don't realize that I'm doing. For instance, after I, whoop, okay, sometimes you don't get all the plies. So see how I have this loose ply here, kind of came out of there. So sometimes I'll pull out stitches to make sure you get all of the plies in there. But one thing I find that I do is after 2 or 3 stitches, I find myself just automatically moving my fingers up. So they were down here and they kind of hold on to that chain as I'm going. And then when I do a few stitches, I just automatically am moving my finger and my thumb up closer. I think it helps with tension. I think it helps with that same problem of keeping the stitches flat and even. But like I said, it's something that I do without even realizing that I'm doing it.
Right.
Okay, so I kind of flatten it to make sure everything is kind of going the same way. All right, and so I'm joining this again. This is called a slip stitch. So I'm just putting it through the first chain. That tail kind of gets in the way. Wrapping it, yarn over, I'm pulling it back through the first chain and through the last. So I've just hooked those two together.
Yep.
Okay. And then, okay, remember that clattering that happened before? I think that was my scissors. So,
Dig for your scissors, and I will share that.
no, I was just going to say I happen to have done my nails before, so there we go.
Look at you being all MacGyver with clippers.
That's right. So I clipped it off, and then I'm just going to yarn over, pull it through, and snug it up. And those are attached together.
Fabulous.
Okay, so then the idea is that we'd have a bunch of these rings that would be neck sized, okay? And then we would take more yarn. Now, the simplest way to do it is just to take more yarn and wrap it around to attach them together. I'm like sitting over here on the side whipping out another little chain really quick so I can show you. With those clippers. So I used just one skein of that bulky yarn to create that scarf. Okay, this is my other chain, isn't it beautiful? All right, so you've got all these chains together. I mean, imagine there's like a dozen of them or whatever, okay? And then all your little tails can kind of be hidden in there because the way you attach them is just taking a longer piece of yarn, and you know, of course, you're going to tie it in a knot, and you're just going to wrap it around where all of your little loops are attached, and you have like this little kind of like that. So that's an easy way to do it. Okay, then once you start crocheting more than just a chain, see, this is really hard to see because of that dark color, isn't it?
No, but with your fingers stuck in there, that makes it easier to see.
Easier, yeah. So this one I actually crocheted a little rectangle and then took that rectangle of crochet and wrapped that around and sewed that up. So that would be another way to join those.
The chains together.
Yep. Okay. And then I was just going to say, then in the slideshow, there's all kinds of different ideas. Like you can sew buttons on this to decorate them. You could, I mean, if you get more adept at crocheting, you can make little flowers to put on there. Pins. What else have I seen? Oh, hair clips, like really cute little hair bows with those little alligator clips. You can kind of clip those on there. So you can add all sorts of cute little embellishments to them that can or don't have to be crocheted.
So cute.
Okay, so I had girls in my little crochet class that were like, I can't hold this hook. And so they would make.
Real quick, sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Really quick, because somebody actually wanted to see this simple knot and how to start it. So do this part a little slower again.
Okay, so with a hook, I have a loop where the tail is underneath. Okay, and then let's see here. I'm kind of doing this. There we go. Okay. So I have the tail underneath and I've got the part that's attached to the skein. I have that running up above. Okay, this is the way I do this. Okay, so the hook is going to go down through the hole. You're going to grab that tail and pull it through. Okay, it looks really big and really loose right now. So now you just pull that. Okay, this loop is way too big. So you just slowly pull that smaller.
Very good.
Okay, do we need it again?
Nope, now back
Okay.
to, now back to the
Back to
regular
our regularly
scheduled
scheduled program. So I had these little girls that were like, it's easier just to do it with my fingers. And so they did. And I think for just for that particular scarf project, that would be perfect. You really do not need a hook at all. And so your loops are going to be a little bit bigger, and they would just take their fingers and they'd push the yarn through one loop and create a new one, and take their finger, push the yarn through and create a new one. And so they would sit, and they were more comfortable and could do it faster. And you notice the loops are bigger, but they could do this faster just by using their fingers. I cannot do it that fast using my fingers.
Leah, have you ever heard of a rainbow loom hook? I have not.
A rainbow loom hook. Is it a brand of hook?
Not sure. Somebody asked, could you use a rainbow loom hook?
Yeah, I do. That's okay. So if I am thinking right, the rainbow loom is the kind of loom that you do like the terry cloth bands, and you do like pot holders on there, and there's a hook that comes with that.
Oh, gotcha. Yes, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, like we
Yeah,
used to make pot holders.
right. I feel like that hook is really like it's kind of a long hook. I guess I haven't ever tried it. It's also very thin, so I'm not sure how easy it would be to hold. If that's all you had, you certainly could try it. I just had never tried it. We had done, we had kind of combined crocheting with those looms, just because we did two pot holders, and then did kind of a little, we kind of crocheted the edges together to create a little pocket. And let me tell you, that project I found on YouTube, and a little girl did it, and she was just whipping through that thing like nobody's business. And I was like, wait, what? How do you do this? So yeah, this is what you
can find on YouTube. That's why I'm enjoying having all of you guys on, because it's just nice to see somebody do it. Wow, your finger ones are so like smooth too. I am going to have you sort of demonstrate the ending part one more time again too.
Okay. So let me get a few more on here. Well, I am getting faster. Okay, now this one might be, okay. So to do that same slip stitch that I did before, I would take, okay, remember this is the part that's still attached to the skein. So I would take that, kind of push it through the first chain, and then push it through the second, or the last chain, excuse me. So I have another loop here. And then I trim it off with my handy dandy crochet shears. Oh, technical difficulties with them too today. It's not on my side, Chris. All right. And then I just take that tail that I just cut off, and I pull that through the loop. Boop. And you could use that for a little bracelet.
Very nice.
This, you know, sometimes little jewelry kits or, oh, even little shrinky dinks. You could make little bracelets this way, and they could make little shrinky dinks, and you could take jump rings and attach them like little charms.
That I love too, because that would be very easy and kids would love it. How difficult would it be to show how you start a second row, particularly like for the little rectangle?
Okay. It would not be difficult at all. I just have to. Okay. So this is how fast I do the knot when I'm doing it. All right.
Yeah,
So
crocheters are kind of like wildly unique in terms of they can just whip stuff out super fast, you know, practically crochet in the dark, the whole 9 yards.
yeah, kind of like not having to look at your shoes to tie them. Okay. So let's say this is how long I want my little tie around piece to be. Okay. So there's different stitches to crochet as well. There's like a single crochet, a half double, a double, and all that is referring to whether or not you yarn over and how many times you yarn over. But basically, the height of the stitch is about a chain. Okay, so we're going to do a single stitch. So the height of the stitch is about 1 chain. So what that means is we're going to skip this first chain here, and we're going to put our hook into the second one. And I just go, see, it kind of makes a V here. And you see that when you look at it that way? And I go under the top half like that. Okay, is that making sense?
Yep.
Okay, and so for a single stitch, you just go right through the first, that chain there, okay? You still have your original loop on your hook, so you should have 2 loops on the hook now. You're going to yarn over, and now you're going to pull it through both of those. Okay, then you go to the next chain and push your needle or hook through. Gosh, I'm sorry. Yarn over. Oh, I have to make sure I'm in the middle here. Pull that through. And yarn over and pull that through. Did I do that right? Yeah, I think so. Okay. So you can kind of see I've already gone through this chain. So now I need to move to the next one. Put the hook through, yarn over, and pull it through. So I'm getting 2 loops on my crochet hook. Yarn over again and pull. You know what? I think I'm doing a double. No. I'm confusing myself, Chris.
Well, that's okay. It's all, I mean, you're self-taught, so it's not like we
No.
build you as an expert. So I think everybody understands, you know, this is an art and you're learning. I'm just cracking up because you should see what I'm doing. It's a hideous mess.
Are you doing it along with me?
Yes, and I'm cracking myself up because clearly I'm going through just randomness. But it's how you
No,
learn,
this is,
and this
yeah.
is really good.
Yeah, this is a single. I know it is. Okay. I'm just second guessing myself. Okay, so I'll do one more. Go through another chain, yarn over, pull it through. You've got 2 loops. Yarn over, pull it through the 2 loops. You know, when you see or hear somebody say how to do it, it seems like it's really easy, and then all of a sudden it's not really easy. So and then in just some of these last chains, I'll show you the 2 other stitches that are really the most common. So this was single crochet. Okay. Oh, and what you're going to see then is you've got this new chain on the top. So when you go to do the next row, those are the chains that you go through. Just like we're going through the chains down here to create this stitch, we're going to be going through these chains on the next row to create another stitch. And so each row you complete ends up with this chain on the top of it. Okay, so if this is a single, then a double crochet, you yarn over first, okay? A single crochet, you just go through the chain. A double, you yarn over first. Then you go through the chain, you yarn over again and pull it back. And now instead of 2 loops, you have 3. Okay, you yarn over, you pull it through 2 of them. You've got 2 left, and you yarn over and pull it through the 2 left. So you can see that this is a taller stitch than this is.
Very cool. I will say, learning online is definitely harder than when, like, than when we were at Wisconsin Art Ed and there's an in-person workshop, because then somebody can look at something that you're doing and it's so much
Yeah.
easier. So we all know that, you know, distance learning may happen again. And if it does, you know, it can be done, but it's great if you're there in the classroom or art club, because then you're all looking at the same thing and you can, you know, see how it works.
Right.
That made any sense at all? I feel like
It did, and it's really, there's something to be said for, you know, doing kind of hand over hand, and because there were several participants in that session where we just kind of did it hand over hand for a few stitches, and then they were like, oh, okay, I get it. So
the great part about doing this for your conference or for like even just a group of other teachers or, you know, group of friends, is that next thing you know, at the conference, everybody's going around with, you know, in every other session and for keynotes, crocheting. And then
right.
a little bit later that day, you see everybody wearing their scarves.
Yeah, that was really cool. I liked that. So the plan this year, of course, we were going to have it in Wausau, and our conference, we decided to go virtual with it just because we don't know what things are going to be like in October. And originally, one of my plans was that there was going to be a stitch circle just kind of set up in the lobby area, and anybody who wanted to bring a hook or bring some yarn could, if they had a few minutes, could just sit and stitch and chit chat.
Oh yeah, I kept standing at the Nasco booth crocheting.
So then there's
Hilarious.
another real common stitch that is kind of a combination of these two. It's kind of a combination of a single and a double, and it's called a half double. And so that one you do yarn over before you go through the chain. You go through the chain and yarn over again and pull it back through. And like the double stitch, there's 3 loops on the hook, but with the double stitch, you would yarn over, and you remember I pulled through just 2, and then I yarned over again. This time with a half double, you actually pull through all 3.
And these stitches are the reason you do different stitches are just different effects, correct?
Yep, pretty much. And a double is going to, because a double is higher, it's going to crochet up faster than a single stitch. You know, the smaller you're using, the longer it's going to take. But yeah, different, you know, and then there are, I mean, that's just like the super very beginning. I mean, there's all kinds of fancy, let's see, what else do I have here? I have this kind kind of
Leah,
shawl.
you're never gonna believe it, but we are actually almost, we have like 9 minutes. So you
All right, you want
are,
me to
you're doing
flip my
fabulous. I
camera?
want to make sure we get everybody's questions in as well.
Okay, do you want me to flip?
Time flies when you're crocheting.
Okay. Do you need me to flip my camera back?
If you have something else to show us, you go right ahead,
Oh,
and then
it's
I will
not,
join in with you, and
I'm
then
not
we can finish it
sure
up
it
today.
shows very
See how
well.
fast it went.
But I have these little bubbles. So that was kind of a fun stitch to do. There's an artist in Wisconsin Rapids. Her name is Meredith Trebotowski. I put her information on, I think on the slideshow. She writes patterns. Let's see, did that flip me? Hey! She writes crochet patterns and knitting patterns, and she sells them. I love that you're sitting there crocheting. She sells them on Ravelry and on Etsy. And so this one was just kind of this shawl thing that you can make. She makes hers look like a scarf, and it wraps around really awesomely. And then of course I have to outfit my dogs. So this is my dog Nellie's little sweater with
Well, in
flowers on
Wisconsin,
it.
that makes complete sense too.
It does. And I love that the pattern was called Lady Who Lunches.
Oh,
And that's
cute.
totally my dog. She's the lady who lunches.
Hey, everybody, too. Leah has the full PowerPoint, and it's attached. It should be like on the, like your right-hand column, there should be like a control panel there. And it should say handouts. It's called the Chronicles of Yarnia. Isn't that cute? And so if for some reason you absolutely cannot find it, you can email me, kbaki@nascoeducation.com. I'm happy to send it to you. But if you click under handouts, it's right there and you can get the full PowerPoint presentation. What other questions that we have? So here's kind of, I'm giggling because here's probably where I may have gone a little bit wrong, because somehow I got almost like a circle. So it was like a half circle, and then, but I kind of am enjoying that I'm just creating something too, because then I feel like you could maybe even take all these. This was a mistake that I made in terms of, you can see how super thin it is in comparison to something like, one of these. That was because I thought I didn't know if thin mattered that much. It does. But now I have this big bowl of stuff that I've done. And I think that you could do some really cool stuff with it, like some weaving stuff. But here's the example too of, here's my piece that got way too long. But honestly, when you put it on, I just like tucked it in. I'm gonna get it all stuck in that. Oh, Frida's upside down. Frida,
Poor Frida.
Yeah, so
So
making it.
you looks like you made less
on screen.
It looks like you made fewer chains, but made them longer. So you could double up to thicken it. Mine were shorter and there's more of them because I like it kind of chunky there.
Yes,
if you do not have,
somehow I keep putting Frida upside down though.
If you don't have chunky yarn, you can take 2 skeins of like the size 4, and you can crochet with 2 strands of size 4 at once, and then you're going to get a lot bulkier stitch. So this shawl is actually crocheted with 2 strands of yarn at once, and I think that's why it's got that variegated look to it. I mean, it was variegated yarn to begin with, but because I was at different points in the variegation, Is that a word? It is now, because I was at different points in the color pattern with each skein of yarn. Then it kind of like double variegated on me.
And you were doing 2 at a time?
Yeah.
Did I hear that correctly?
Yep.
Awesome. We
Yeah,
seriously,
it works best if you can get it to pull from the center of the skein versus having it coming from, you know, from wrapping around, because then your ball or your skein of yarn is always like rolling around on you. So if you can find that center core and pull that out so it's just pulling straight from the center, that's always a little bit easier. And then if I'm using 2, I just have the skeins laying side by side coming from the center, and it just pulls, and you just are using the 2 as 1.
so a question about alternative hooks. There's lots of different crochet hooks available in the PowerPoint that Leah has sent to us and we have attached. It does talk about some different hooks. If you are meaning something other than a crochet hook, Leah talked about actually just finger crocheting. I have heard some stuff about toothbrushes. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know if like legit the brushes are like the actual hook part. I feel like that would be kind of hard. Or if you do some sort of like, you know, create your own shank or something, you know, I guess.
That
That sounds just ridiculous, and I'm joking, but you may want to YouTube that. But there are definitely lots and lots of different sizes. Leah, I can't believe how fast this went. You were worried that it was gonna like not be enough time, and you have absolutely entertained us. And you know, we've learned some stuff, and I'm grateful for that. I think it's fun to play with, and I just love your enthusiasm. And I love that you started off like somebody like me, didn't know how to do it, and you just went full into it and checked your resources and continue. I liked how at NAEA and the conferences you connect with other people that do this as well. So I think that's very cool. Behind me, you can see some circles that have art in it. Join us next Monday, June 22nd. I will have Sandy Coleman as my guest, and she is going to talk about the Community Circle Project. There has been all kinds of stuff going on since the minute this pandemic became an issue in the United States. There's all kinds of feelings about that throughout this whole thing. There's so much going on. We certainly have been dealing a lot in the world of social justice and how to handle things like anti-racism and some hard topics. Sandy is going to join me, and this particular project is so diverse and so, it is the 4 C's completely. And I think that while it is not 100% super arty, you can clearly see there's an art and creativity element to it. And I think that that brings us together. So I'm super duper excited about that. Leah, thank you again for being my guest, and for always
Thanks for having me.
for teaching me new things and always bringing such joy to the art room. You are a delight, and I am blessed to know you. Everybody, thank you so much, and continue to stay well, stay happy, and keep teaching art.